views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Welcome to Bronxtalk. We're just completing a several weeks-long series of important issue-oriented shows. You'll recall we had the Bronx District Attorney-elect on the show. Then it was the Speaker of the Assembly. And then last week, a tough show about active shootings. But as we know, the borough of the Bronx is a lot more diverse than just those things, as we strive to represent the whole borough on this program. So on this holiday week, we thought we would get to the core of what really drives the Bronx, and that is our legacy, our heritage of Bronx music, which has fueled music energy all over the world. And what better place to do that than with WEDCO's Bronx Music Heritage Center? We'll have video, we'll talk with the co-directors about Bronx music, the incredible things they're doing at the center, and their plans for expanding it in the future. Now, if you'd like to ask questions or make comments, you can call in at 718-960-7261 or send us an email at bronxtalk@bronxnet.org or post them on our Facebook page, and we'll read them on the air during a future edition of our program. For the here and now the co-directors of the Bronx Music Heritage Center, good evening to Elena Martinez. So nice to have you.
Hi, nice to have you.
And now I'm going to make a list. To drummer, percussionist, composer, arranger, recording artist, producer, filmmaker, conductor, educator, activist, multicultural warrior, multiple Grammy nominee. Welcome back, Bobby Sanabria. Nice to have you.
It's a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. Elena, let's just start with you. For people who are unaware of what the Bronx Music Heritage Center is and where have they been, why don't you tell us what it is and what it's about, and then we'll get into some of the real specifics.
Okay, the Bronx Music Heritage Center is sort of like the cultural arm of WEDCO, the Women's Housing and Economic Development Corporation. I don't know if you're familiar with WEDCO. They've been around for about 25 years. But
I am, but we want to make sure everybody in the Bronx is.
Women's Housing and Economic Development Corporation, they do affordable housing, and they do all sorts of different services. Child care services, after-school programs, kitchen incubator, all kinds of great things for the community. But the BMHC, the Bronx Music Heritage Center, is sort of their cultural arm. I mean, everything they do is sort of infused with culture. But our mission of the BMHC is to promote, present, document the cultural heritage of the Bronx's musical heritage. And we've been doing programming about 4 years. It's been about 4 years. We've been doing some pop-up shops and residencies, artist residencies. Bobby and I started curating Bronx Rising, a series, but we have different series too, Living Legends, free community arts classes, like conga lessons, piano lessons, just a wide variety and diverse element of different series and programming, free and open to the public.
You know, I want to make this connection very specifically. I want to make it very obvious because I'm very aware of it, and I certainly know Bobby is it's very important to him. And that is, so here's a community center, a community development organization, and many people would say, well, wait a minute, music? That's not what you do at a community center. You teach athletics, you may do after-school programs, you have other they have a wonderful culinary program at WEDCO, have all these developmental programs. Why does music work in that context? And wait till he starts, because I know he believes it like he knows his own name, but
well,
we'll go with you.
As far as WEDCO, I mean, one of the things that I was told when I started working there was WEDCO isn't just about building buildings, it's about building community. And you can build a building to bring people there, but you need to create the other stuff to create the community around the building, whether that's the schools, whether that's the places where people go to shop and to eat. And part of the things that people need in a community are the cultural places, the places to, whether it's to go and see a movie or a poetry reading or hear music. And a lot of places in the Bronx, because of the history of the Bronx, we've lost a lot of spaces for that. Even though in the last few years there's been this great renaissance of different new community organizations and arts organizations doing incredible, innovative work. I think we're part of that. I think BMHC is on sort of on that wave of all these new art organizations. But WEDCO's mission is to infuse all the things they do for community development with music and culture.
Bobby, the importance of music in the Bronx and the importance of it through history right up till today.
Well, I would say that most Bronxites and most New Yorkers and most people in the United States don't realize that, and I'm going to quote Dr. Mark Nason from Fordham University, the head of African American Studies there, that most people don't know that no other place in the United States has fomented, nurtured more forms of music than the Bronx. The only other place is Treme in New Orleans, Louisiana. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about the history of music, from jazz, even classical music, of course hip-hop, salsa, Afro-Cuban music, the way we play it.
Doo-wop, and actually two forms of doo-wop, the one that grew up in Belmont and the one that grew up in Morrisania. Mm-hmm. You have to add in there.
Exactly. An incredible jazz history that the Bronx has.
Latin fusion,
it goes on rock and roll. It goes on in R&B. It goes on and on. From people, we have actually 4 National Endowment of the Arts jazz masters from the Bronx: Eddie Palmieri, Lou Donaldson, Jimmy Owens,
Ray Barretto.
And Ray Barretto.
Yeah. And so, for you, what does the Bronx Music Heritage Center mean? And then the next step is, what is the next step?
Well, for me, it means reclaiming this rich history that most Bronxites don't know about, especially the younger generation. I would say the older generation, people that are in their 60s, 70s, lived it. I'm 58, so I'm on the cusp of that, and I remember seeing the way it used to be in the 70s. We had so many clubs, etc. It was just amazing. Mm-hmm. Great ballrooms. It was when my sister and me were growing up in the Melrose houses, we see our parents getting ready to go out on Friday nights to go out dancing. Go out dancing in the Bronx.
In the BX. Not downtown.
Mm-hmm. Right. And our mission is not only to reclaim that history, but to advance it in this century.
And so you have what is really a small, it's almost like a storefront center.
I would call it an art gallery space.
Art gallery, that's a very good way to describe it. But what's next? And we're going to show this incredible video and some great photos.
What's next is, in about the middle of next year, 2016, ground will be broken for the Bronx Music Heritage Center Performing Arts Center, and it'll include a multi-purpose 250-seat theater. It'll include a lobby art gallery and also an incredible exhibit, a digital exhibit on the history of Bronx music. There'll be an amphitheater outside as well. There'll be a restaurant.
Spaces for rehearsals.
Exactly.
And
you know what I want to add and what I love, and we're about to show video upon video, which we're never going to have enough time for. But it's going to be part of the Melrose Commons.
Right.
So this is going to be ingrained in the lives of the people who are moving into these buildings. I can't think of a better use of music, that it becomes part of their lives. These people will embrace it as like when they wake up in the morning and go downstairs, that's what they're going to have in their life.
It'll be a source of pride, and it'll be a place where people from all over the world will come not only to see great and hear great art, but also to do research as well.
So we want to show this first video, which you guys sent us, which describes what is there, what has been there, and what is going to be there. More to come. Let's take a look at the Bronx Music Heritage Center of the near future.
You asked why the Bronx produced so much musically. And of course, it's the birthplace of hip-hop. It was one of the epicenters of doo-wop, Latin jazz, salsa.
I grew up in the Bronx at a time when salsa music was in full swing and full regalia.
There was music everywhere. It was really, really thriving.
In the old days, you learned how to play in school. in school. I mean, we took it seriously.
At every corner there was a different band rehearsing.
There were lots of clubs, the 845 Club, Kenny's, Freddie's.
It was nothing to see these bands play in the streets. You would see Tito Puente playing, and they would block off the street and have a festival.
The Bronx was happening, man. I mean, I can't sell you enough on it. There was a point when the Bronx started decaying. A lot of people decided to leave the Bronx.
Well, the Bronx music scene changed because of the poverty, because of what was going on.
I mean, a couple of things are different. One, in the 1970s, the music programs were removed from the school. Two, it's not possible to use the streets as a venue the way people once did. And three, there aren't the clubs.
There were 65 clubs in the Bronx back in those days. Today, we have none.
But slowly but surely, the Bronx is back on an upswing, and it's being revitalized.
There's still a significant amount of Latin music. There's still a lot of hip-hop being created.
Hip-hop was born in the Bronx. This is the birthplace of the rhymes, the graffiti artists, all the elements. Hip-hop is a voice of the oppressed, of the poor, of people who are struggling. And there's still a really vibrant underground community.
It's happening. It's just happening in a different way.
The Bronx Music Heritage Center is a cultural institution that's a project of WEDCO, and our goal really is to preserve and to promote Bronx music, Bronx musicians. The vision is really have it be an outward-looking building that's a part of a campus. Bronx Commons will include the Bronx Music Heritage Center, and will also include green affordable housing that will have apartments that are set aside for elder musicians.
The Bronx Music Heritage Center is just going to change the whole game. Create a space central and pivotal to the art and to the information of hip-hop and Latin jazz and different cultures.
The main thing that it will bring will be a tremendous sense of pride.
Awareness. It'll let people know that the Bronx is not dead.
Some of these people who make the records, they're still living in the Bronx. The connections between the generations is really exciting.
We just need people to have the opportunity to express themselves and live within their cultures and respect their heritage and pass it on.
The whole community with that as its center, that would be like the old days. I mean, that used to be normal. The school had a music center, and the community came around that.
It's an absolutely priceless innovation in terms of bringing music back to a community with this rich heritage.
To bring back the majesty that was music in the Bronx. So this is your house here in the Bronx.
You know, when I saw that, I was like, well, now we don't need to do the show because that really tells the whole story. Elena, just, and Dahlia, put up some of the photos. This is really going to be an extraordinary project and done in always the right way. A green project, putting music in there, obviously affordable. So just give me a little bit about the project while she rolls some of the pictures.
So the new building, you know, WEDCO has buildings now. The United Urban Horizons, which is over on Girard and 168th, Intervale Green, which our space is at now, over in Morrisania, right off on Lewis 9 Boulevard. And then this new building, Bronx Commons, will be right across from Boricua College. It'll have between 270 and 300 units of housing. 15% of them will go to elderly musicians. So again, we get hopefully that interaction between retired musicians who can get affordable housing, and hopefully they'll be able to interact with us at the space, at what we're doing at the Bronx Music Heritage Center.
They may be retired, maybe professionally, but as this guy knows, once a musician, always a musician.
Yeah, always want to work, right? So,
right.
And so we can hopefully add that as an interaction, but as well as helping them and serving as a benefit for them for affordable housing as well. So, and then as Bobby mentioned, all those things that'll be part of the Bronx Music Heritage Center, the theater, the gallery, rehearsal space.
I vote yes on Proposition 1. What a great and wonderful concept.
And the great thing is that this has been green-lit by the mayor. And also the Bronx Borough president and everything. So we've just been basically meeting with architects as of late. It's going over design issues, etc.
And is it too soon to say when are we going to cut the ribbon and I can be down there and say yay?
Probably sometime in late July, early August.
Well, groundbreaking in the middle of this year.
I want a finished product.
And then they take like 18 months to so to
well, it's just fantastic. There are so many things going on over there. Let's start with the Paranda celebrations, plural, and we're going to show a clip. Tell me what happened over the weekend.
Well, we just had this Saturday, December 20th, Paranda con Paranda, which is the third annual event that we do. It was an idea that Elena came up with, bringing the Puerto Rican community together with the Garifuna community. These are black people from Honduras, St. Kitts, Belize.
And one would think they don't have anything in common, of course, and the one clear thing they do is music and culture,
right.
etc.
And Elena invited me 3 years ago to host the Posters Performing Arts Center to see a concert of authentic Garifuna music, and I'm looking and watching, I'm going, oh my God, the drums.
It's the same thing.
Some of the rhythms are very similar to our own Afro-Puerto Rican bomba rhythms. And then we started talking about how can we bring these people together, these two communities. So I guess you could take it from here.
Well, I don't want to take it too long because I want to just show, right?
But the Paranda con Paranda, just because we get a lot of confusion, we'll talk about, we did an actual Paranda today, which we'll get into, but Paranda, Puerto Ricans have this thing, Christmas caroling procession, so the Paranda. The Garifuna have a paranda with one R, which is a kind of musical style. So we use that term to bring the two communities together, and we have a concert, and each year we've sort of like focused on different things, whether it's masquerade traditions in the community, the drum rhythms. This year we focus on women's traditions, and then this Saturday we focus on women's traditions in the Garifuna and the Puerto Rican community.
This is my Christmas and holiday message to the Bronx. We're bringing communities together. Let's roll the video. Let's see what it looked like. Well, everybody in this room is smiling. I assume everybody at home is smiling.
It's fun just watching that. Yeah.
What a great feeling, too. We're going to run out of time, but there are many different styles of music, and you don't limit it to one style of music. The next thing I want to show is the Akua Dixon segment. Tell me a little bit about what music that is.
Well, I guess you could best use the term that Gunther Schuller used many years ago at the New England Conservatory, third stream, where you have classical music mixed with jazz. So Akua is a great virtuosic cellist who works in both the classical world and the jazz world. She has this great, fantastic group, and we featured her with her group.
She's from the Bronx.
And she's from the Bronx. She's from the Bronx. I did well, even best. Let's go. Let her rip. This is the Akua Dixon Quartet. Okay. Well, what I love and what we were just talking about is the variety. I mean, so here, you get all different types of music, but you had something specifically to say about that.
Well, the piece that they were playing was Poinciana, which was a piece that was made very famous by the jazz pianist Ahmad Jamal many, many years ago. And what's great about Akua is that besides a classical repertoire that she'll do with the string quartet, she'll do popular pieces like that. And anybody that knows a little bit about Latin music, you could hear the Cuban bass lines and the cello that she was playing, etc. So this is a great way to expose young people in this setting to these instruments that normally they would never even get to hear or get to see.
And of course, things are priced so high that nobody can attend, right?
No, well, the great thing is, well, in other places, but the great thing about
that's what I'm talking about.
But the great thing about all the programs that we do, they're all free.
They're all free, and people from the community. And imagine, folks, really imagine when these things are in their buildings and in the neighborhood. I mean, it is now, but really in a much larger space. All right, the next clip that we have is DJ Kool Herc, and everybody knows who he is. What is the context that this was an outdoor thing?
Well, we have our Bronx Rising series that Bobby and I do monthly, but we also have these other series embedded. What you saw with Akua was we have one of our board members, the very great Valerie Capers, the great jazz pianist. Bobby, her, and I came together thought of this idea of the women in jazz. We have the Maxine Sullivan Women in Jazz series to honor Maxine Sullivan, who's from the Bronx, and women in jazz. So that's what Akua's performance. Kool Herc's performance was one of our events that we had an outdoor festival, but it was also a Living Legends. We award a couple times a year Living Legends Award to people who are great innovators, educators in their field. And so Kool Herc is one of the founders of hip hop.
And let's take a look at the great DJ Kool Herc from Sedgwick Avenue.
One, two. BX, how y'all doing? BX, how y'all doing? Who's gonna take check this out, y'all. Listen to the words. Tell the politician. Listen to the words, tell the politician.
I wish more people would just understand that kids will do better in school, people will be more productive at work, their lives will be better, the quality of life will raise up if we just do more and more of this. I know you folks believe that. So what were you just telling me about just the range of music that you program?
We've had everything from jazz to obviously hip-hop, Latin jazz. We do celebrate all of the communities that exist now in the Bronx and have existed. For example, we had a concert of celebrating the Jewish community in the Bronx with a group called Zion 80, which what they play is a combination of rock, jazz, and Latin, infused with Latin rhythms.
If people can't see that we're all on the same page in this borough, I don't know what else we can do.
I've always said that we have more things in common than differences. The only thing that separates us really are two things: geography and fear.
Well, let's overcome both, and this will be, I don't want him to introduce it, I will introduce it, the great Bobby Sanabria playing some Latin jazz. Let's take a look.
sounds
He
fresh.
can't stop talking. He says it was written by Dizzy Gillespie in 1943. If people want to find out we know when all the events are and they're all free, how do we do that?
You can go to the Bronx Music Heritage Center on Facebook. WEDCO's website also has a Bronx Music Heritage Center page. And for all the information, Facebook's probably one of the best ways to find out
Just
about
get on the web, look at BMHC, and you'll find out what's going on. And I want to encourage everybody in the Bronx, make it your New Year's resolution. You're going to spend more time with Bronx music, and this is a great way to do it. Now, you've got an event coming up, a New Year's event, right?
Yeah, we started a couple years ago. A couple years in a row, we had a great New Year's. Bobby would lead it with one of his bands with New Year's, and we had a break, but this year we're coming back with New Year's, and Bobby.
We're going to have an all-star group and featuring the great National Endowment of the Arts jazz master, the father of modern conga drumming at 94 years old, Candido Camero, myself, and Gene Jefferson, who used to be part of the house band at the Apollo, worked with Tito Rodriguez, Ray Charles, everybody on sax and flute. Frank Anderson, one of the first black conductors on Broadway, who also worked with Machito and Willie Bobo and many other great groups on piano. Iram Ramon,
and
the fabulous singer.
People, is this one they need tickets for? Or
no, they can show up at the door.
Show up at the door about what time?
9 o'clock, 9 to 1. Families welcome. We'll have refreshments and have the music.
And champagne at midnight.
And also in mid-December, we'll have registration. We'll start for our community arts classes. So we have free classes open to the public in conga, drums, piano, and salsa dance. So the registration starts in mid-January, and January 25th the classes start.
How popular are these things? Is it hard to get people to come in, or people coming in now all the time?
It's gotten more, and we didn't have piano. We just started having piano because people asked for it, and now we get tons of people.
We're going to have to run. Bobby Sanabria, Elena Martinez, thank you for what you're doing in the Bronx. As I said at the outset, we do all this stuff, but this is my Bronx right there. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas,
same to you.
All the best, Happy New Year. Folks, if you have further questions or comments on anything you heard on tonight's show or anything going on in the Bronx, send us an email at bronxtalk@bronxnet.org. Put them on our Facebook page. We'll read them on the air during a future edition of our program. We want you to like Bronx Talk on Facebook and like the Bronx Music Heritage Center on Facebook. And you can check out our archives at bronxnet.org. We're on the lower right navigation bar. Next week, we go wandering New York. New Year's with a photographer who has an interesting perspective on the Bronx that we see every single day. And then the week after, it'll be 2016, and we'll start the new year by checking in with Council Member Richie Torres, and we'll talk a whole range of stuff. Happy holidays to you, to all the people who work on the show. Thanks to Dahlia, Neilani, and Clyde, and Helen, and everybody. Peace and love this year.